geometry. This is our review number 1. So in the first problem, we're asked to write the equation of the graph in vertex form. So let's go find our vertex. It looks like our vertex is occurring at -3, +4. So when I go to write my equation, I would write y equals, and then I have x minus the -3, which is x plus 3 squared, plus 4. Now let's consider our a value. So I noticed right away it doesn't go 1, 1. It goes 1, 2. Okay. And it doesn't go 2, 4 because that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. That'd be meeting up right there, and it doesn't. But let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8. It looks like it is 1, 2, and 2, 8. Instead of being 1, 1 and 2, 4. So it looks like I multiplied my y movements by 2, and it's a -2 since it goes down. So this will be a -2 in front. The axis of symmetry is x equals -3. That's the vertical line that goes right through the middle of my parabola. It occurs at the vertical line x equals -3. The minimum maximum value of the function, well, this function has a max. The vertex is a maximum. It happens when y is 4. So my vertex is -3, 4, and my maximum value is at 4. It's the highest value on the entire parabola. Write the equation in standard form. So let's take our vertex form, y equals -2 times x plus 3 squared plus 4. Let's do our exponents first by PEMDAS. So y equals -2 times x plus 3 times x plus 3, and then plus 4 at the end, that I'm going to do at the end because it's at the end. And so I'm going to continue working with my x plus 3 squared. I'm going to multiply x plus 3 times x plus 3, either with FOIL or with box. And this -2 is times that product. It's -2 times. So I'm going to leave my parentheses, and if you FOIL or box, you should get x squared plus 6x plus 9. And so now I'm going to distribute the 2 to all 3 of my terms. And I get y equals -2x squared minus 12x minus 18 plus 4. And this minus 18 and this plus 4, this is what I do at the end because the plus 4 was at the end. Now by PEMDAS, I've done parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division. Now I can do my addition, subtraction. So this is a minus 18 plus my 4. So I'm going to get y equals, -2 x squared minus 12x minus 14 when I combine that -18 and that plus 4. So now let's graph number 2. I can tell that my vertex is 3, -4, opposite of what I see in parentheses and whatever I see for my k. And so let's do -3, -4. So hard to see. I think it's right about there. So I have my xy, which is 1, 1, 2, 4. But I notice that my a is a half. And so remember, we want to multiply our y movements by our a value. So instead of going 1, 1, I'm going to go 1, 1 half. And instead of going 2, 4, I'm going to go 2, 2. So I'm going to go over 1, up 1, which is only halfway. And over 1, left 1, up 1, which is only halfway. And then I'm going to go left 2 and up 2. It's really hard to see on my iPad, but I should be at -1, -2 when I do that. And I'm going to go over to the other direction and up 2. And I'm going to draw my parabola sketch going through those points. Okay, let's take a look at number 3. Number 3 is in standard form. This is like pages 10 and 11 homework. Remember, page 9 was our notes. This is page 9 notes, and this homework was page 12 and 13. So there's videos for 9, there's videos for 10 and 11, there's videos for page 12 and 13. But this problem, in order to find my vertex, I have to use my x equals -b over 2a. So my x coordinate is equal to a -20 all over 2 times -2. So -20 is +20 over -4 is a -5. So the x coordinate of my vertex is -5, and my axis of symmetry would be x equals -5. So now I need to go find my y value. So y equals negative 2 times negative 5 squared minus 20 times a negative 5 minus 53. So this is negative 2 times a positive 25. So equals, negative 2 times a positive 25. Negative 20 times the negative 5 is plus 100 minus this 53. Negative 2 times the negative 25. So now it's negative 50 plus 100 minus 53. Oh my goodness. And I get a negative 3. So my vertex is negative 5, negative 3. Let's go graph that. So negative 5, negative 3. Oh, I hope my eyes can see this. I think it's about right there. So now my movements are 1, 1, 2, 4. And before I can do that, I should double check my A value. In this case, my A value is equal to negative 2. So I'm going to multiply my Y movements by that. So 1 times negative 2 is negative 2, and 2 times negative 2 is negative 8. So I'm going to move 1, negative 2, and negative just means down. So let's do that. 1 to the right, down 1. Down 2. I apologize. So 1 to the right, down 2, and 1 to the left, down 2. And now I'm going to go 2 to the right, down 8. And so 2 to the right, down 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like I'm going off my graph by a little bit. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. So 1, 2, and then down 8. Again, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. I can't see it at all. Hopefully you can see it better than I can. I think it's a little bit darker on the actual worksheet. Okay, you guys, and that would be my parabola. So let's jump down to the bottom section. So this first question wants the vertex, and this is in vertex form, so that's easy. It's 2, negative 1. I literally just read it off because this is in vertex form, and in vertex form, that's when I can see my vertex, because this is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Again, this was page 9 notes and page 10 and 11. So now finding the vertex of standard form, I have to do a little bit more work. So this is the one where this is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And to get the x coordinate, my vertex, I use my negative b over 2a. And so in this problem, that's negative 12 all over 2 times 1. So it's 12 divided by 2, or 6. So the x coordinate, my vertex, is 6. And now I need to plug that 6 back in. I'm going to erase what I wrote right here so I can have a little bit of room. And let's plug a 6 in everywhere I see an x. So y equals 6 squared minus 12 times 6 plus 46. And so y equals 36 minus 72 plus 46. When I do all of that, I get a 10 for my answer for my y value. Okay, for 6 and 7, I am supposed to find the y-intercept. Remember, to find the y-intercept, this is the one where we substitute in x equals 0. This is on pages 14 and 15 of our notes. So there's a video for that if you need it. So let's plug in a 0 for my x's. So I get 2 times 0 squared minus 3 times 0 plus 5. So this is just 0 minus another 0 plus a 5. So when x is 0, my y value is 5. Let's do the next one. Now this is in vertex form, so it's a little different. I get 0 plus 8 squared plus 3. 0 plus 8 is 8. 8 squared is 64. 64 plus 3 is 67. So when x is 0, my y value will be 67. Right in standard form. Okay. So this is the one that we looked at again on pages 14 and 15. I believe mostly on page 15, by the way. But when it's in standard form, this is when I multiply. When it's in vertex form, this is when I multiply it out to get it into vertex form. So the first thing I handle by PEMDAS is my exponents. I get y equals -2 times x minus 3 times x minus 3. Plus 4 at the end, and I'm going to do the plus 4 at the end. Now this is -2 times x minus 3 squared. So when I write this, I'm going to keep a parenthesis. It's -2 times my answer. When you box or FOIL x minus 3, we should be getting x squared minus 6x plus 9. If you have trouble getting that answer from the box or FOIL method, please come into office hours so we can look and see what you're doing there. But we've been doing that for quite a while, so hopefully it's fine. Next, I need to multiply by that -2, and I get -2x squared plus 12x minus 18 plus 4, and that's going to give me a -2x squared plus 12x minus 14 for my answer in standard form. Y equals. What is the equation of the axis of symmetry? Well, remember, it's always going to be x equals, and it's the vertical line going down through the middle of my parabola. And so basically, it's x equals whatever my x coordinate of my vertex is. This vertex is 3, 4, so it'll be x equals 3. Let's take a look at the next page. So hopefully you saw on the PDF answer key, or right now in the video, I'm going to change this to a +1 so that my x-intercepts are on the x-axis for this problem. So let's graph this. My vertex is 3, 1. So let me go over 3 and 1. And notice that my a value is a -1. So when I get ready to do my 1, 1, 2, 4, since a is -1, I'm going to multiply both my y movements by that -1. So I have 1, 1, and I'm also going to go 1, -1. So over to the right, 1, down 1, left 1, down 1. Now I'm going to go right 2 and down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to go left 2 and down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to draw in my parabola. My axis of symmetry is that vertical line that's going through the middle of my parabola. And a vertical line is always x equals. This happens to be going through x equals 3. And I knew it would be x equals 3 because 3 is the x coordinate of my vertex. My y-intercept, I can't see it. So I'm going to substitute in x equals 0. And I get y equals -0 minus 3 squared plus 1. So y equals -0 minus 3, that's a -3 squared plus 1. Y equals negative, and then times 9. -3 times -3 is a +9 plus 1. And so now this is a -9 plus 1, or a -8. So my y-intercept is 0, -8. And it makes some sense. My parabola is going to be slowly growing outwards, and eventually it will come down here and go through this point on my y-axis. So my x-intercept, I can see those. Those are at 2, 0 and at 4, 0. And writing this in standard form, that's the one I have to multiply out. So y equals -x minus 3 squared plus 1. So I'm going to write it twice. That's x minus 3 times x minus 3 plus 1 at the end. So I'm going to do it at the end. Now this negative sign out in front, you could think of it like a -1 coefficient. It's -1 times everything in the parentheses. So let's go multiply our parentheses first. I get x squared minus 6x plus 9. Again, that's my box or FOIL, x minus 3 times x minus 3. So now my next step is to distribute that -1 to each term. I end up with -x squared plus 6x minus 9 plus 1. And so I can't really fit it on the line up there, so I'm just going to write it here. I get -x squared plus 6x minus 8 when I combine my minus 9 plus 1. And that would be my standard form of this equation. So let's review some factoring. If you're having trouble on these, the factoring problems are on pages 2 through 8, And there's a video for each one of those pages in our folder. So number 12 is two terms. This is a GCF problem. I know because the 25 and the 40 both have a 5 in common, and x cubed times x have an x in common, and I'm going to use my smallest exponent, so they have an x squared in common. When I divide 25x cubed by 5x squared, I have a 5x left over. And when I divide 40x squared by 5x squared, my 40 divided by 5 is 8, and x squared divided by x squared cancels to 1, and I get this answer. 13 is a trinomial, so I'm going to see if I can factor it using my diamond method. My a times c goes at the top, and it's negative 45. That's what my side numbers multiply to. My b is 4, and that's what my side numbers add to. So you might be thinking of 9 times 5, because that's 45. And if I make my 5 negative, I will get a negative 45 when I multiply and a positive 4 when I add. So since my a is 1, this is the shortcut. I can put my side numbers into parentheses in either order. Oh, sorry, that's a plus 9, minus 5, plus 9, minus 5, either order. So number 4 is two terms, and I'm kind of thinking about dots because I see those squares, but 3 and 75 are not perfect squares. However, this does have a GCF, so let me take out that GCF of 3. When I do that, 3x squared divided by 3 is x squared, and minus 75 divided by 3 is minus 25y squared. Now that I've done that, I can clearly see my dots. X squared is a perfect square. If I take the square root, I get x. And 25 is a perfect square. When I take the square root, I get 5. Y squared is a perfect square. When I take the square root, I get y. So now I can write this, my GCF out front. I can write this as the sum and difference of my two square roots. It doesn't matter which one's plus and which one's minus. Either way is fine. If you're having some trouble with that, that's our page 7 video. So now, I wouldn't do number 15 without taking out the GCF. I think it's pretty clear that the 2, the 4, and the negative 48 have a 2 in common. So can you do it without taking it? Sure, but your numbers are much bigger, and eventually you have to take out your common factor of 2 anyways. So I might as well do it from the beginning. When I divide all of these by 2, I get x squared plus 2x minus 21. This is a trinomial, so I'm going to try my diamond method, and I get 1 times negative 21, or negative 21. My b is 2, so I need to multiply to negative 20, that's a 24. 24. 48 divided by 2 is a 24. Maybe I just couldn't read my own writing. Let me erase that, make it a little bit neater. That's a 24. So I'm looking for something that multiplies to 24, negative 24, while adding to positive 2. So I'm thinking about 6 and 4, and if the 4 was negative, then it would add to the positive 2. This is another problem where my a is 1 inside the parentheses, so that 6 and negative 4 can go right into my parentheses. It does not matter what order I put them in. It's okay either way. So now number 16 is also a trinomial. It is also the diamond method. However, I'll notice that my a term is a 5. I am not going to write my side numbers in the parentheses. I'm going to have to change this to factor by grouping. The notes for this are on page 6 of our packet. So 5 times negative 8 is a negative 40 on top. That's my a times c. My 18 is on the bottom. So I need a number that multiplies to 40 while adding to 18. Of course, you're probably thinking 4 and 10. You're probably thinking 5 and 8. But this particular one, I'm going to want my 20 and 2. And my 2 will be the negative. 20 times negative 2 is negative 40. And 20 plus negative 2 is my 18. I am not going to write them in parentheses. I'm going to rewrite my 5x squared and my minus 8, leaving a bunch of space. And instead of writing this, I wanted my highlighter. Instead of writing this negative 18, I'm going to write my side numbers, which add up to negative 18x. So I'm going to write this as a plus 20x minus 2x. And you could have wrote those in either order. Both ways work fine. I'm going to underline the first two and last two because now there's 4 terms. So I'm going to try factoring this with grouping. In the first term, I can factor out a 5x, and I get an x plus 4. And in the second term, the second half, I can factor out a negative 2, and I also get an x plus 4. I'm super happy to see my parentheses match. I'm going to factor out what it matches and drop my leftovers into the parentheses. So in the first half, when I factor out the x plus 4, I have a 5x left, and in the second half, I have a minus 2 left. And I would get this answer. Either one can be in front. It doesn't matter. So number 17 is 4 terms. So I am not going to try the diamond method. I'm going to try underlining the first 2 and last 2 since there's no GCF, nothing in common in all 4 terms, and see if I can factor it by grouping. So the first 2 have an m in common. And when I divide both by m, I have an x left over in the first half and a minus 2 in the second. In the second half, I'm going to divide out a GCF of 5, and 5x divided by 5 is x, and negative 10 divided by 5 is negative 2. Super happy to see my parentheses match. I'm going to factor out what's in common and put my leftovers in parentheses, and that will be my answer. Either one can be first. Now 18, at first look, I'm considering dots because 25 is a perfect square, x squared is a perfect square, 36 is a perfect square, y squared is a perfect square, but dots is specifically the difference of 2 squares. That's a subtraction problem. This is addition. So because there's no GCF, this is simply prime. There's nothing I can do with that. And number 19 has 4 terms. We're going to underline first 2 and last 2. The first one, they have multiple common factors, but I'm going to use their greatest common factor, which is a 9. And among x and x to the first would be an x. I'm going to divide both terms by 9x. 36 divided by 9 is 4. X squared divided by x is just an x to the first. Negative 9 divided by 9 is negative 1. And x divided by x is 1. So I'd get 4x minus 1. My next GCF is going to be negative simply because my middle sign was negative. And 8x and 2 have a 2 in common. Negative 8x divided by negative 2 is positive 4x. And 2 divided by negative 2 is a minus 1. Again, super happy to see my parentheses match. I get 4x minus 1 times 9x minus 2. And that would be my answer. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in class.